We could get roll call, please.
Mayor Baxter,
Here.
Commissioner Flores, Commissioner Marino, Commissioner Powell,
Good morning, I'm here.
Commissioner Sachs, Commissioner Wise,
Here.
and Vice Mayor Woodward.
Here.
Thank you.
Who has the prayer book? I do. All right, if you would, Commissioner Weiss, please do the prayer and invocation.
Please rise if you're able. Gracious God, we thank you for the earth, our home, as we journey through our human life. Its miracles are too many to number, and its fragility too easy to dismiss. Help us to honor and revere its wonders so that we protect and care for it as we would both a child, young and filled with possibility, and a beloved elder, graced with wisdom gained through experience. Open our eyes to behold its unseen blessings, unstop our ears to hear its pain, and fill our heart with love for all that it is so generously gives. We ask for the sake of your love. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a notice, proof of publication?
We do.
I make a motion that we receive and file proof of publication.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Marino, a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that motion carries 7-0. Attorney, if you would please do the swearing in.
Would all those wishing to speak on today's items please rise if able? Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Deputy Administrator, do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
We do have a few. I'm going to ask Wendy to run through them with the board.
Okay. On our amendments to the agenda for postponements, item number 5, DOAW 2025-00967, Seminole Orange Plaza. The applicant has requested a postponement to April 23rd, and so that one will need a motion after approval of the amendments. ULDC related items, item 6, workforce housing program unencumbered units, modifying the summary as this isn't request for permission to advertise, it's final adoption. Item 7, fitness center for industrial privately proposed revision. We've included correspondence that we have received to date as of this included in our packet. Under other department items, there is a modification to add item number 12, the sublease agreement for First Transit FDO. We have a request to possibly move that to the consent agenda as well, if there's no objection from the board. And that's what I have for modifications.
Commissioner Flores?
I have 5 comment cards on item 5, which would be postponement. Public comment cards, I should say.
Correct. It's still on the regular agenda, is it not? We haven't postponed it yet.
No.
Okay, thank you. We have we also needed to, and I don't know if you want to do this in 2 separate motions, Attorney, we also are going to ask the board to move an item up on the agenda.
Which item are we moving?
And 10. 10.
Okay. Well, I think if you can say it in one motion, that would be the best way to do it.
Commissioner Weiss, would you be able to make that motion? No, I guess the mixed use, it's 12 now?
Let's
It was
divide
10.
them out to see how the board feels about moving each item. So I would make a motion on
I
item 12.
think we're talking about the same item, the numbers must have changed.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'll make a motion that we move item 12 into the consent agenda and approve the consent agenda as amended.
Yeah, we need to move it into the consent agenda, and then we need to do disclosures on the consent agenda and approve that as a separate motion. So we can move.
wait,
So I make a motion, we
Commissioner-
move item 12 to the consent agenda.
There we go.
and no, actually, I was talking about 10 as well. And it is in regards to, I wanted to move it up in regular, not into consent.
Right, but right now, we're just dealing with item 12, the
Okay, so
add-on
we were
item.
going to move it into consent first.
That was what the motion was.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Marino. I have a second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that the motion carries 7-0. That did
Well,
not
hold on,
include the postponement. That was moving it to consent, correct?
Pardon
Number
me?
That was moving number 12 to consent.
Correct.
Now, the postponement?
The postponement, yeah, let's do a motion to move number 5 to the postponement agenda.
Commissioner Sacks has made the motion to postpone number 5,
Not just to
To-
move it to the postponement agenda.
move to the postponement agenda. Do I have a second? I have a second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0.
We have cards on that, so. how-
Right,
how
and
would-
then
Right,
we'll-
does
then-
that postponement,
We
how does
will,
that work?
so when we get to the postponements, right now, we're just on the adoption of the agenda. Once we get to the postponements, we can list the cards to speak about the whether or not.
Postponement.
Postponement, exactly.
Okay.
Well, I'm new.
Let's do disclosures for consent, please. We'll start,
I'm sorry, did you want to move number 10?
we have
to
not
the
moved
regular?
10 yet.
Okay.
So we're gonna, I would entertain a motion to move number 10 to the beginning of the regular agenda. Commissioner Flores is making the motion. Commissioner Sacks is seconding it. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0.
Mayor, may I be recognized? Could you repeat
Yes.
the seconder, please?
The second was Commissioner Sacks. Okay, I think we are good now. So disclosures for consent.
Well, so,
Or do you want to?
yeah, let's do a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, and then we move on to the postponement agenda.
Before consent?
Before consent. That's
Okay.
what the,
You're the boss, attorney. We got it. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. I have a motion by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Commissioner Sacks. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0. Now we will move on to the postponement agenda. Do we need disclosures for postponement?
let's just do the disclosures as if you were going to do them for the regular item.
Look, Madam Mayor. Quick question. Did we just approve the consent agenda?
Yes.
The question I
No,
had.
no.
No.
We didn't approve it, no,
Okay,
because we
we-
haven't
We haven't
voted
gotten
on it. We
we
approved
made
the
a con-
motion, the agenda as amended.
Okay. Thank you. So now we're making a motion.
Now we're moving on to the
update the postponement agenda.
agenda, yeah.
Okay.
And we're going to disclose the postponement agenda. So if Commissioner Marino, you would start, please.
Thank you, Mayor. My disclosures include verbal communication with Brian Terry, Zach Kepler, Samantha Silverberg, Brian Seymour, and I filed written correspondence with the clerk.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell, number 5.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My verbal communication includes communication with Brian Terry, Brian Seymour, and I think that's it. Oh, no, yeah, Brian Terry and Brian Seymour, that's it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Woodward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had verbal communication with Lisa Johnson, P.S. Gorin, and Brian Terry. I also had email correspondence filed with the clerk. No site visit.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Flores?
I only had written communication from some concerned constituents, no verbal and no site visits.
Commissioner Weiss?
And just clarifying, this is disclosure on item
Number
number
five.
5. Okay. Verbal communication with Pia Scorin and Lisa Johnson. I had email correspondence and a letter from the Acreage Landowners Association that's been filed with the clerk.
Thank you. Commissioner Sacks?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this is Seminole Orange Plaza, number 5, right? And my disclosure says postponed, so I'll have to supplement it later.
Do you want to just copy Commissioner Weiss's?
That's an excellent idea. Commissioner Weiss, may I see your? Oh, very good. All right. It was verbal communication with Pia Scorin, Lisa Johnson, and emails and a letter from the Acreage Landowners Association. Perfect.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
And my disclosures are, the emails have been filed with the clerk, and I've had verbal communication with Brian Seymour, Brian Terry, Lisa Johnson, Bob Morgan, P.S. Scorin, and the ALA. And no, I haven't specifically visited this site for this purpose, but I have been there. So we'll leave that at that. Consent, or excuse me, on the postponement, we do have cards. Now, as a reminder, do we need to vote on the postponement before we take the cards?
I'd say take the cards first, get the public comment first, then do the vote.
But once we vote on the postponement, then they could only speak to the postponement.
Well, they're going to speak to the postponement now. They can only speak to the postponement now because that's the only issue in front of you at the moment.
Okay,
So
sounds like a plan. Commissioner Flores, please call them up. We have several cards, a lot of cards, speaking cards today, so we're going to do 2 minutes just because of the amount we have.
So we have 2 podiums. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. And if I mess up your name, I apologize. Jim Wicklin. I definitely messed that last name up, so I apologize. Lisa Johnson, Pete Mooney, Alexandra Larson, PA Scorin. You guys can come up. Come up, there's 2 podiums. Sylvia Merkel, Billy Merkel, and Karen Brines.
Please
I know
proceed,
we're only
Ms.
supposed to talk to postponements. I don't think there should be postponements. I don't think these changes should be made willy-nilly, because I've seen 100 willy-nillys throughout my life at this podium, and we should be able to speak on this item. We're here. These people traveled, they're working, and they should be able to speak on the item. Maybe they don't want to come back on the 23rd. Maybe they can't come back on the 23rd. So I think you should hear their voice right here and now. It's just a thought, Commissioners.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Johnson. I live in the Acreage. And I can't say I am or not for the postponement. We met with Brian Terry and the CEO interim from HCA this week. And they said, we understood it that they were going to ask for a postponement so that they could get with the owners of the property and see if there's anything else that can be done with that property. We had talked about a urgent care that they own, the MD Now, and maybe a physical therapy center. So they have to get with the other members. And then I don't know that 30 days is going to be enough because they said it's going to be a week before the April, so that may not be enough. I have that issue because I really want them to get back to us, sit at the table, and let's come up with somebody everybody's happy with. And Billy Merkel he lives 100 feet away from the facility. He handed me I did not open them, I did not read them. They're from other people in the neighborhood. Can I file them with you?
Please hand them to the clerk.
Okay, thank you
or
very
the
much.
staff.
And the last one is Pete Mooney. Pete Mooney.
Hi, my name is Pete Mooney. I live two doors down from the proposed. And as far as it being postponed, I'm here now. I don't know if everybody could be here now, but it doesn't matter to me either way if it's postponed or we do it today.
Thank you.
Mayor, there were several other cards that do not wish to speak. They were all in opposition.
Okay, thank you. Make sure those are filed. I will entertain a motion to postpone. Do we need to hear from the applicant?
If the applicant would like to speak, certainly.
Good morning. Brian Terry on behalf of the applicants. So, yeah, we're requesting postponement. We did have the opportunity, it was mentioned, to have an introduction with some of the neighbors, with the CEO of Palms West. She has the opportunity to meet with the leadership from Nashville, who's going to be down in a couple of weeks. And so taking that opportunity, we heard the concerns, having that chance again just to discuss whether there's alternative options for the property. And again, if under the circumstances we need additional requests for another 30 days, if that is beneficial for everybody, we may take advantage of that. But at this point, we think that we can have the meeting, have a conversation, understand which direction we may or may not be able to go, and then come back to the board.
In 60 days?
The request is for 30, with the intention that we'd be able to meet with HCA in that time. And then if we need to come ask for an additional 30, we could.
I don't want residents to have to keep coming back and forth in 30
Okay.
and then potentially another 30. So let's just do this at 60.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Sure.
I will entertain that motion, please. I have a motion by Commissioner Marino. A second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
May hearing.
There are no more postponements, to my knowledge, Attorney.
That is correct. We are
Moving
now on to the
consent.
amended consent agenda.
So we will do disclosures on consent, and we will start in the opposite direction. Commissioner Sacks?
Thank you so much. Consent agenda, and this, I'm going to give the name. This would be the Boynton Trail Center.
That's correct. That's the
Just want to
only
make sure.
quasi-judicial.
Right, because the numbers have changed. And I'd like to state that we have received and filed with the clerk all the emails. We've had a verbal with Brian Terry, Barbara Roth, and that has also been filed with the clerk. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss?
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 1, I've had verbal communication with Brian Terry and Barbara Roth. I received email correspondence, been filed with the clerk.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores?
On item 1, emails received from Claire Elliott of Insight Studio. No verbal communication, no site visits. Which items are there again?
1 and 2.
1 and 2, okay. And then nothing on 2.
Vice Mayor Woodward?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the Boynton Trail Center racetrack, I have verbal communication with Brian Terry, email correspondence filed with the clerk, and no site visit.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That verbal communication with Brian Terry of Insight Studio on consent item number 1, and no information, no disclosures required, or no disclosures for item number 2.
Thank you. On item number 1, I had verbal communication with Brian Terry and Zach Kepler, and I've filed correspondence with the clerk.
Thank you. I have written emails that have been filed with the clerk, and I've had verbal on item number 1 and verbal communication with Brian Seymour and Brian Terry, no site visit. For item number 2, there are no disclosures, so.
And Mayor, just to clarify, remember, we also moved item 12 into the consent agenda as well. But again, no disclosures for that, but that's just, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that when you vote, you're voting on that item as well.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Powell?
with regard to item 12, we have additional information on that with regard to the contract that will be awarded being that it will end up being it'll be out for bid, can we just make sure we clarify what will happen if the entity that is awarded the contract today is not an entity selected in the future? That would be helpful for those looking at these particular items.
Who would be the one to clarify that, Deputy Administrator?
If the board wanted, as you take up consent, you could pull that under consent, ask that question briefly, and staff could address that.
We're on it now.
If you want to pull, you're doing disclosures right now, you haven't pulled any items yet. If the board wanted to, or could ask staff to come up and address that either way.
Wait, but if we pull it, then we're putting it back on regular. Yes. Can we just answer the question, please, Attorney, on item number 12?
And we've got staff, we have staff. available.
I'm a planning and zoning attorney, so
That's okay.
I'm gonna need,
We've
So
got,
the-
we have staff.
And Commissioner Powell, if you would clarify the
We have staff
question,
to
do you want to
address
know
that.
what happens if we vote on it today?
If we award that contract to a particular entity, which I think is TransDev, if TransDev gets the contract and we decide during the process, because this is the process where different entities are bidding for the contract to operate transportation services, what happens if TransDev is not selected?
Good morning, Commissioners. Purvi Bugaita from Prem Division. The sublease agreement will terminate if TransDev is not selected as the new vendor.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we have some cards for consent, Commissioner Flores? No consent cards? Or one or two? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. I have a motion by Commissioner Marino, a second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0. Okay, on to regular agenda.
Wow. It's rock and roll.
Yes, we're going to take number 10 first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mayor and Commissioners. This item before you was requested to have staff bring back to look at the commercial cap and also the mixed-use category in the comprehensive plan. I will turn this over to Susan Gash, our staff, to do the presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of paper.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. The item before the
Let's
board.
just make sure your mic, yep,
There you
perfect.
go. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Great. As she just went through this, staff is going to provide a brief history and overview of the commercial policies and some options available for the board direction. In 2001, the board decided to adopt policies that reflected the intent to preserve and enhance agriculture while balancing sustainable development that included commercial intended to support only the farm workers and residents of the area through the implementation of a commercial cap and requiring mixed use in the form of a traditional marketplace development, as suggested by the master plan consultant. In the past 5 years, several workshops have been provided to increase the commercial cap, evaluate light industrial, residential development options, and last year's workshop provided an update of uses, remaining lands, with a proposed scope of work for a study that a board decided not to proceed with since there were only 489 acres available at that time, and instead asked staff to continue research on the commercial cap. As you can see on this slide, it shows how the Ag Reserve has evolved since 1995 and the resulting land distribution associated with residential in yellow and agriculture in green. A snapshot today shows that approximately 30% is in residential, 61% in preserve, with 427 acres remaining. Most of them are not contiguous, and they are not located on Boynton Beach Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue. Currently, there are 126 acres pending of future land use applications. In 2000, the census data indicated that the area had a population of 1,365 people. Today, it's 26,215 residents. There we go. The comprehensive plan defines mixed use as a development pattern that allows for a mix of density and intensity that functionally integrated facilitates a walkable neighborhood with the benefit of internal trip capture. Today, the categories that further this concept are the traditional marketplace development, TMD, multiple use plan development, MUPDs, and multiple land use, MLU. Each of these categories can accommodate essential housing at 8 units to the acre. The 4 key constraints that prohibit new development using these categories are the commercial square footage cap, locational criteria, preservation, and traffic policy 35D. Firstly, the commercial cap. This was implemented at the suggestion of the master plan consultant as a long-range planning tool that ensured that non-residential development did not exceed the demand of the farm workers and residents of the tier. The current commercial cap is at 1,015,000 square feet with approximately 10,000 square feet remaining. At the time this was implemented, it was estimated to have 14,000 dwelling units, or roughly a population of 33,460 people in the tier at the end. Today, we have 13,024 dwelling units approved, which equates to a population of 31,127. Secondly, we have the location criteria. Each of these multifunctional categories excuse me, is strictly limited to be within a quarter mile of the intersections of Boynton Beach Boulevard and Lyons Road and Atlantic Avenue and Lyons Road. And they were intended to define those intersections by combining neighborhood shops, community gathering areas, offices, civic institutions, and housing opportunities. The only exception for this rule is for pre-existing commercial, which can add adjacent land area to square off their property. Both of these central intersections already have existing marketplace developments, integrating both residential and non-residential uses with central gathering areas and green spaces. The Northern Canyons Town Center is approved for 250,303 square feet on their approved site plan of non-residential space and 93 multifamily units. All of the non-residential space has now been built out as of last year with the library. The 93 residential units have yet to be built. 34 of these units are within a GL-owned Pod A, and the remaining 59 are located in Pod B, which is owned by Palm Beach County. The Southern Delray Marketplace approval has 278,940 square feet of non-residential and 73 multifamily units. While all of the non-residential is built out, there are currently no county-owned civic uses adjacent to the site, and the residential has not been built. Thirdly, we have preservation, which is approached in 2 parts. First, we just determine how many acres are required to be preserved and then the uses that can go within it. Each of these categories has a 60% requirement for preservation with one exception. If the MUPD is less than 16 acres, it does not have to provide a preservation requirement. The uses that are permitted within the preservation is the same as we have for the permitted uses with residential developments, with a few additional ones such as civic, government services, schools, and in certain cases, limited water management features if they're adjacent to the development area. Oh, Lord in heaven. I need to back up. Sorry about that. Lastly, we have traffic policy 35D. This is applied at the time when a future land use amendment is proposed. It's a long-range planning tool that prohibits changes to the future land use atlas that results in an increase in density or intensity that will significantly impact right-of-ways that may fail adopted levels of service. All land use amendment requests must pass the requirements of this policy in order to move forward with approval. On our last slide, we have all 4 of these criteria: the commercial cap, the location criteria, preservation requirements, and traffic with their standards. The board has the options to increase or modify the parameters, eliminate them, or leave them as is. At this time, staff would ask for board direction.
Well, I will say that we should turn this over to Commissioner Sachs, who is the District Commissioner of the Ag Reserve. You're recognized.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. So much of this really falls on the shoulders of our great staff. This is a unique area of land that holds more people than our 39 cities and has unique capabilities and limitations. and restrictions that have been imposed since the late 1990s. Our staff has worked tirelessly on this, and I appreciate all that you've done. And I've been tough on y'all, but this is a big deal for our county. The other day, we in the County Commission heard from our Board of Tourist Development, and they were willing to promote ideas, 10 great ideas they talked about, iconic places that our county will be known for. And they were willing to put their money behind it, $1 million, which is a lot. And one of these ideas that they talked about, I wrote it out because I thought it was pretty exciting, also for District 5. And that was a indoor air-conditioned sports arena, which we currently don't have. And that, I believe, comes under entertainment. I would like to see an addition to what we can put in the Ag Reserve, just an additional one, not anything else, just entertainment. Because entertainment brings in our ability to have a indoor air-conditioned sports arena that would be world-class. We have some acreage left, not a lot, but we have some acreage left, and that would be adaptable for this. I'd also like to see in our area some entertainment with regard to theaters. We have beautiful theaters here in this county. One of our starship is, of course, Kravis. But we have beautiful theaters in all of, especially the PGA area. Burt Reynolds Theater, which is now developed into a beautiful theater, and the Wick, which is in Boca Raton. But we don't have not one in District 5 in the Ag Reserve. So what I did is, rather than just think what I would like, I asked my people, and I would, when you're ready, Mayor, if we could hear some of the folks who live and who are here today and prepared to tell us what they would like to see in their neighborhood. Because the most important thing, I think, is what do the people want? What can we, one of the purposes of the development in this area is to serve the residents' uses, to serve the residents' uses. So I'm going to let the folks speak who are interested in this area, who live in this area, and who represent thousands of people in this area. So I'm sure they've submitted cards.
Yep.
And then I'll summarize at the very end after they've spoken.
We'll
Thank
hear
you.
those cards now. We're going to give everyone 2 minutes.
We have 2 podiums, so please come forward, line up. I have Alexandria Larson, David Schulson, Laura McClellan, Chris Hagan, Barbara Roth, Dagmar Ross, and Mike Atchison, sorry, it's a T.
I thought you were first. Okay. Back in the day, we voted, us, taxpayers, everybody, voted to take $100 million and buy agricultural land. That turned into a fiasco because we were promised one number and got another number which was much lower. I mean, the Ag Reserve, I don't even know how many, Commissioner Sachs said, I think she said there's 489 acres left that we're trying to decide on what to put there. And what should be there is agricultural. It's the reserve, that's the name. There's preserve. I mean, we haven't preserved anything we were supposed to do for a very long time, commissioners, and we need to get back to that idea here in Palm Beach County, preserving what's left. Because I'm not an environmentalist, I'm a preservationist. I want to save what's left. Because this land, that's what it was farms. Then you got the Arthur Marshall. I mean, that's down there. I don't know what belongs. I don't know what constitutes a good thing because the theory was that it was supposed to be agricultural land. And as soon as we voted on it, the price of land went up a lot you know, in that area. And then I can always thank GL for building another subdivision. How many do they got? 13 down there? Personally responsible for just plowing it down and building more homes where we should be worried about having crops. We're losing them, and we got a lot of stuff coming our way. We face a lot of stuff, so hopefully take that into the back of your mind. Preserve it. No more building, no more units, no more nothing. Stop. Like I said, you guys could stop for 8 years and not worry about anything, because I'm sure there's 44,000 units of development on the books that aren't built yet. Somebody asked that question. How many are on the books and haven't been built yet?
Mayor Baxter.
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, may I respond to this?
You may.
Okay, thank you so much. I want everybody to understand that none of this would occur on preserved land. Okay? Isn't that great? I love preserved land. I like to look at it. Preserved land, and I'll tell you exactly how much we have left, 13,368. Thank you to the people and my colleagues. They are still preserved. They will be preserved. 61% of the ag reserve is preserved land, and it's not going anywhere. It's staying preserved. So what we're talking about today will not occur on preserved land. And thank you always. Keep an eye on that, Ms. Larson, for us. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor Baxter, David Shilson, before the clock starts, would you consider giving me an extra minute since we met with each of you? The rest of the team is not going to go through public comments. They've asked me to, instead of them each getting 3 minutes, would you give me 3 minutes or 2 minutes, an extra minute?
I'll give you 2, and then if we have questions, you'll obviously get more time to elaborate.
Okay, I'll try my best. Okay, ready to
Thank
go. My name again, David Shilson. I reside at in the Valencia Reserve community in Boynton Beach. I'm the Cobra delegate. Since 2020, the VR community has been battling with the ownership group called West Boynton Ranches Holdings over development projects on property owned by West Boynton. First, the water ski lake in 2020, the proposed essential housing project in 2025, and now a proposed mixed-use project presented to us in January of 2025 and 2026, but yet to be formally filed. This proposed project is preposterous, as it includes 300,000 square feet of commercial space, including a Costco, 1,020 residential units, and a private party venue. So where does VR stand on the key constraints affecting mixed-use developments? As for the commercial cap, locational, and preservation criteria, stay as is. As for traffic, the Commission should strictly adhere to and enforce Policy 3.5D. Why is this VR's position? Well, the traffic situation on Boynton Beach Boulevard is already a major problem, even before approved projects on Boynton Beach Boulevard are completed in the years to come. Costco alone would generate about 300 cars per hour. The bottom line is Boynton Beach Boulevard is probably a D road now and well on its way to becoming an F road. Also, there's absolutely no need to eliminate or extend the commercial cap, especially by 300,000 square feet. For example, Delray Marketplace has 7 vacant spaces, including 2 restaurant spaces, which have been vacant for several years. Canyon Town Center has a building with 9,600 square feet of vacant space. So now let me answer quickly, and if you'd give me consider the extra minute, a few questions that Commissioner Sachs first asked us at a meeting in VR this past January and a few days ago at a private meeting with her. She asked, what do we want? What would we like? Well, we would prefer to retain the character of the Ag Reserve. Would you give me one more minute?
I'll ask, what would you like to see there?
Well, okay, we are realistic, reasonable, and open-minded. We understand that one day, in the years to come, there will be something on that property. We remain willing and able to resume discussions with any representatives who want to develop on land that's next to us. However, and last, I'll just finish it up then. There are only 427 acres of remaining land left in the Ag Reserve with development rights attached, only 427. At this time, there is absolutely no reason to consider a private text amendment land use application for a mixed-use development unless there is a compelling need and strong community support for the mixed development
use. And as Commissioner Sachs just pointed out, I think some of the ideas we bounced around with her the other day are great, but I think number 1, 2, and 3 priority has got to be the traffic issue. Before anything is done, and I really feel strongly, having met with the Planning Division, with our team, met with each of you. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to Commissioner Flores, but I really think policy 3.5D is crucial. The traffic issue for private text amendments and mixed use has got to be strictly adhered to. Thank you, and thank you for meeting with us.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs?
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. If in fact the people in Cobra want to keep warehouses under commerce, which it is, we'll do it. And I will not go along with wanting to add entertainment so that we could have theaters, where we could have some kind of sports, indoor sports, padel, things like that. But if in fact, right now we have agriculture, we have residential, and we have commerce, which includes warehouses such as Costco. I'd like to hear from the other folks, because I will do whatever y'all want. If in fact you want to keep it the way it is, we'll hear from you, but it will remain agriculture, residential, and commerce, which of course includes warehouse and distribution centers, such as Costco. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you. Okay.
Lauren?
Good morning. My name is Lauren McClellan. I'm a professional urban planner with more than 20 years' experience in Palm Beach County. I'm here to support the mixed-use item because this vote is about good planning. It's not a project approval. It's about directing staff to revise the 4 criteria that are currently preventing thoughtful mixed-use development within the Ag Reserve. Today, you're not being asked to approve a development. You are being asked to let staff study the issue, evaluate what is working and what is not working, and bring back a better framework for public discussion. This is not a leap, it's responsible planning. Good planning does not ignore change. It studies change, shapes it, and puts guardrails around it. Planning documents are living documents. They're meant to evolve as conditions change and as communities grow. When policy language becomes too restrictive to allow thoughtful solutions, it should be revisited with care, flexibility, and sound planning judgment. From an urban planning perspective, mixed use is one of the most effective tools we have to create a more complete community. For too long, much of the Ag Reserve has developed in a pattern where residents live far from daily services, far from jobs, and far from housing options for the workforce that supports this county. That pattern is not sustainable and it is not efficient. Distance creates traffic. When families have to drive farther for groceries, services, dining, schools, or work, we increase vehicular miles traveled, place greater strain on the roadway network, and continue the cycle of isolated, single-purpose development. Mixed use can help break that pattern by allowing uses to be planned together instead of separated by miles of roadway. Planning should reflect how people actually live. This is about giving more people the chance to live closer to where they work, including teachers, nurses, first responders, and other essential members of our workforce. And importantly, this can be done while respecting the identity of the Ag Reserve. Preservation and planning are not opposites. In fact, preservation without planning is not a strategy.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Chris Hagan. I'm a professional transportation engineer here in the state of Florida. I've been practicing transportation engineering here in Palm Beach County for about 27 years. I wasn't going to talk about any specific uses as Commissioner Sachs had mentioned, but really just to speak generally about the transportation benefits of actually having a better balance of uses within the same general area, which would include increasing the commercial cap and also promoting mixed-use development within the Ag Reserve. During the course of my almost 3 decades as a transportation engineer, I've seen an evolution in how we address the issue of traffic and transportation and moving people from one way to another. As I began my career, much of the focus was singularly focused on just moving cars as efficiently as possible, and it was really just reacting to traffic volumes that were there. But over time, there have been a number of shifts in thinking about how transportation is really an issue of moving people, and that it doesn't just exist in an isolated bubble, that it's directly tied to decisions that are made about zoning and land use. In recent years, other jurisdictions around the county or around the country have recognized that there's an important measure, which is vehicle miles traveled, and that's something that Lauren mentioned in her discussion. Rather than having people commute 10 miles to their place of employment, having them be able to commute 3 miles or less is better. Rather than having them drive 5 miles to a restaurant or retail, instead of having them being able to drive 1 mile is much better because it reduces vehicle miles traveled and actually reduces congestion on the roadway network. The residential units are already there in the Ag Reserve. The issue is placing these destinations closer to the folks that are there. And mixed use can actually help even reduce that further by creating the opportunity for people to make those trips without even having to get in their cars. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more cards, Commissioner Flores?
We got
Okay.
Barbara
We
Roth.
so we just,
Magmar.
perfect. We just have 2 podiums. If we could keep them full, that'd be great.
Shall I go, or is this Jim?
That, I believe ladies first.
Thank you. Barbara Roth, speaking on behalf of COBRA. Thank you, commissioners, for the time you spent, mayor, vice mayor, commissioners, and I'm sorry, Commissioner Flores, we missed that appointment. We were with the commissioners earlier this week to accompany our member community, Valencia Reserve. Valencia Reserve backs onto the specific property on Boynton Beach Boulevard and 441 that is one of the properties we're addressing today. COBRA was there to support them. However, they don't speak for COBRA. I do, and the COBRA officers. Our position, and at this point, I just, with all due respect, have to remind everyone, we supported the essential housing use in the Ag Reserve and the commerce use. And why we did that was to support the families and the other member communities in COBRA's area, and it's 55 square miles. It's not just the Ag Reserve, but we heard that there was a need, a financial need, an economic need for essential housing, and we supported that. We understood there was need for a commerce use, not an increase in the commercial cap. Huge distinction. A use for commerce, and we supported that, and we continue to support that. And if I have an opportunity, I'll speak to that issue at the district later today. We support the commerce use. There are empty restaurants, spaces in the Ag Reserve that are not currently being utilized. There is square footage of commercial space that is not being utilized. To begin talking about a mixed-use approach on land that is very, very important for drainage. We have, if I may just for a moment.
Ms. Roth, I do have a question.
Certainly.
And I concur with everything you've said, but I do want to know, would you support a recreational use of an indoor sports complex?
Mayor,
children?
it is such a, I understand the goodwill that went behind suggestions such as that. One of the definitions, imperatives of the Ag Reserve was something that would not bring in heavy additional traffic to the area. Something like that I expect would bring in heavy additional traffic. The other issue, we work with partners in Palm Beach County. COBRA is not an environmental group. We are concerned about water drainage, and we've been educated to that fact. We're concerned about the location that's right on the edge of the Everglades on 441 and water drainage. So there's a lot to be talked about here, but to just very precipitously adopt a mixed-use category, I think is unwise. And I thank you all for the time you've listened to us, and we'll speak with anyone at any point about possibilities for that property. I thank you.
Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. I appreciate COBRA. We're not discussing that one particular area, however. We're discussing all the acreage in the ag reserve, which has not one indoor recreational center, air-conditioned for children, for families. And I know there's one bigger one that's going to go later on in the agenda today, which would probably be denied because maybe of what your arguments you're making right now on this issue. I have lived in the ag reserve for 43 years and raised 2 families there. We travel to other districts in order to have a playground or in order to go to a theater, a performing arts theater. Not one performing arts. Maybe we don't have the cultural background, but I do think we do. I do think we do. So instead of looking at Costco's, instead of looking at big warehouse distribution centers, instead of looking at one big suburb, I think maybe we should look at the remaining 400 acres to do something for our families, do something for our cultural arts background. So just something to think about as we proceed through this argument today. It's a good argument, and we probably won't revisit it for a number of years. So we're looking at not taking out agriculture, but adding something to the 400-some acreage that we have, that maybe we could have a fitness centers in there and swimming. So I encourage everyone to speak on this issue as we proceed. Thank you so much for the time, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Mike Atchison. I'm a landowner and an operator in the Ag Reserve. I'm here today to read a letter from the Palm Beach Agricultural Enhancement Council, which I sit in the Ag Reserve seat of. The Agricultural Enhancement Council appreciates the opportunity to comment on the discussion regarding potential mixed-use development policies within the Agricultural Reserve. This letter is provided following an AEC discussion at the March 11th meeting. The Ag Reserve was created with a very specific purpose to protect farmland and ensure agriculture remains a long-term part of Palm Beach County. The policies that establish the reserve, including limits on commercial use and requirements for meaningful preservation, were intentionally designed to maintain that balance. During recent discussions about mixed-use policies, several concepts were raised that would expand commercial activity within the Ag Reserve while reducing or changing the preservation requirements that have traditionally accompanied the development in the tier. The Council has concerns about this direction. The commercial cap and preservation requirements were put in place for a reason. They were designed to allow limited supporting uses while still protecting ag land. Weakening those policies risks gradually shifting the Ag Reserve away from the framework that it was originally created to protect. The Council is particularly concerned with the proposals that would allow stormwater management areas or other development infrastructure to count towards preservation requirements. Preserve areas were intended to be maintained and that land could be used for agriculture, open space, or other uses compatible within the agricultural landscape. Allowing infrastructure that primarily serves development to satisfy preservation requirements would fundamentally change how preservation functions within the reserve. For these reasons, the Ag Enhancement Council recommends that the existing Ag Reserve policies remain unchanged and that mixed-use development policies not be extended within the Ag Reserve tier. From the perspective of those working and farming in the reserve, preserving farmland has always been the foundation of the policy. The Council believes the current framework has served the Ag Reserve well and remains essential to protecting long-term viability. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sachs bringing up sports arena possibility in the Ag Reserve. I just went to a Florida Panthers game night before last night, first one ever. Good God, please, all of you go before you even consider that idea. Second of all, as far as theaters are concerned, we have other places. Kravitz, yes, it's a trip. Do we go every week? Do we go every month? No. But if we want a theater, we go there. If you want to build another theater, just build it on the east side of the turnpike, please. We do not need to be pulling these people in. The intent of the Ag Reserve and what COBRA has always supported was support and give the people what they need in the Ag Reserve. To act like they have to travel 10 miles to get to a grocery store is ridiculous. There's 5 miles between Boynton Beach Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue. Both intersections have multiple grocery stores in them. We have the dry cleaners, we have the Nair's hair salon, we have the paint stores. We have everything you could possibly need to take care of those residents in the Ag Reserve. We don't want uses that are going to pull people into the Ag Reserve. Traffic is tough enough on Boynton Beach Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue. I'm sure you're all aware. And as far as Ms. McClellan is concerned, we have been planning. We've been planning for 25 years. We've been tweaking. We introduced the commerce use. We introduced the essential housing use. We let the first 16 acres not have a preservation conservation easement. And at the end of my speech, Commissioner Sachs, we're not talking about arenas for the change in commerce. We are talking about cheerleading camps. We're talking about softball clubs. We're talking about volleyball clubs. We're talking about children, giving them a use. We're not talking arenas. It's a totally different category. Thank you.
Is that it for the cards? No more cards. Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized. Excuse me, Vice Mayor Woodward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just if we could go to, oh, you're already there, the slide for us to have our discussion with our options. I want to start on number 4 from the bottom. Sort of see that one as probably the most important. Do not want to make any changes, keep the 3.5D. I don't think I need to belabor the point on that one. Anything we do, we have to consider the traffic policies, and bringing a 3.5D waiver, it's a bad idea. Most times, exempting, I'm absolutely opposed to that. So if they want to bring them as a potential waiver, that's still an option, as I understand this, but no exemptions on anything. So on the number 3, I would like to keep it as is. I did have a question on limited uses. Could you just verify for us what the limited uses are on the preserve?
It's the same as we have for the residential communities, bona fide ag, agricultural uses, equestrian, open space, and environmental enhancement. The commercial policies allow for, like with the traditional marketplace and MUPD and EH, they allow for more uses than actually the other projects. They allow for civic, institutional, schools, and limited water management features when they're contiguous with the development area.
Okay, and we've talked a little bit about the 400-plus acres that are unencumbered, I guess, at this point. That's all private property right now, is it not?
Pretty much, and they're discontiguous, and they don't all front on Boynton or Atlantic.
Okay. On number 2, the location criteria, I say I'd like to keep that as is. Again, if someone wants to bring in something in another category, there's still a path for that. But
Correct.
As of right now, I would like to keep that as is. Now, number 1, my first question is going to, it was brought up, how much has been approved but has not been built? How much of this is pending?
We have 13,024 dwelling units that have been approved.
This is on the commercial cap.
Oh, on the commercial?
Yeah, the first item that we're talking? I'm sorry.
It's all pretty much built out.
So everything that's been approved has been built?
Mhm.
And
It's the commerce that hasn't, that has 7 approvals with only 2 that have pulled building permits.
And that doesn't go towards the cap?
No, ma'am.
Do we have a cap on that?
No, ma'am.
All right, so then specifically what we are talking about on the commercial cap,
Is commercial.
and that's all been built?
Correct.
Everything is, okay, well then I'm pretty happy to keep that as is for right now. That would be the 4 answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for the presentation. So let me lead off before I go down the list. I share, the policy or the board's policy for relative to the Ag Reserve has always been that what we do out there is not to attract additional people. It's to, what happens out there, it is an enclave, is to serve serve the residents out there. So I think there is an important discussion as it has, increased in its number of residents and folks that are living out there, to make sure that they do have the things that they need. And I think that is a valid discussion. And there's a change. I mean, we have a change of number of retirees versus, families that have moved in out there, and there may be some differences. And so I'm definitely not sympathetic. I am open to understanding, what those needs are. So I did ask staff, as professional staff, is there a recommendation? Do you, have you all looked at, the population and, as planners to see what's out there, what needs to be out there? And it's beyond what our staff is able to provide at this point in time. And I think it was about a year ago, maybe longer, we talked about a potential study, a big study. I don't think we need a big study, but I think maybe a small study of this particular topic as it relates would definitely be helpful to me, because I am not a planner. I know Commissioner Powell is. Maybe he can shed some light with his wisdom on this. But without that information, I am reluctant to want to make any changes at this point. I feel like I don't have enough information to confidently make that kind of decision. So one of the things I would hope, if we leave things as it is, that we do find a way to do some kind of a limited study as to what the needs are out there, because I do think there are some new things that they do need.
So Commissioner Weiss, to clarify, for all four, then your keep as is?
I would keep them all as is, yep.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
So I'm going to make some general comments that may not be popular in this particular room, but I do want to say it because I think it has to be said. This particular community is beautiful. I respect it, and I understand the history behind it. And as I look at the breakdown, 30% of this plot of land is residential, 4% is non-residential, which is, commercial use and others. But 61% is preserved. And whether people want to argue whether we have preserved enough, 60% is a pretty large percentage. So I think the ultimate goal sort of has been achieved. My biggest concern is the services that these 30% need and require. And I heard the comment from Ms. Dagmar that if you need something, go east of the turnpike. And what happens there is the other districts and other communities have to take the brunt of the services that these communities require. And, and I mean this with, everybody has to play a part. I mean, you have to service your own community, and different districts have different needs. I understand that. But we also have to be respectful of each other. And having to track down, we talk about traffic on Atlantic or Boynton Beach Boulevard. Well, west of the turnpike, there's no traffic on West Boynton Beach Boulevard. I drive that road all the time. West of Atlantic is not that much traffic. Now, I tell you, go east of the turnpike on Boynton Beach Boulevard and Atlantic, and then you will really face traffic. You want to know what traffic is like? Come to my district and see what traffic is really like. I will show you traffic. So my point is we have to build and plan accordingly. And 4% of this large percentage is not that much. So I'm okay with mixed use happening here. I don't want to take away any more preserved land. That's not what I'm saying. But we have to manage our own communities and not place the toll and the burden on other communities. And that's simply what I want to say. As for the recommendations here, I'm okay keeping things as is, and I also want to hear a little bit more from the district commissioner. Thank you.
So you're all four as is?
For right now, I want to hear from the
Okay. Commissioner Marino, would you like to opine?
Well, traffic is what traffic is. Doesn't matter where you drive in this county, we have it. We don't have it like Miami-Dade or Broward, thank the good Lord. I live off PGA Boulevard, that stands for Please Go Around. Again, this is like death by 1,000 cuts. The ag preserve, the ag reserve, however you want to pronounce it. The bond that bought property in there also bought, and you've all heard me say this before, almost 20,000 acres up in my district. Developers have developed in the ag reserve and preserved more land than the county owns in the ag reserve. That's not the discussion, though. The discussion is traffic, keep it as is. Preservation requirements, keep it as is. Location criteria, we can't ask farmers to continue to farm if they don't want to. And I know that was one of the thoughts behind where these developments go. And yes, it upsets me that farmers don't want to farm anymore. And it's not that they don't want to farm, it's that the kids that are coming after them don't want to farm. We can't force anyone to do that. But I don't agree that if you don't have development rights on your land, that now all of a sudden you should have development rights on your land. So I would not be in favor of, if there's a parcel of land, it has no development rights, that's how it stays. Commercial cap. You know, you wonder, people go to a rural community and then all of a sudden they go, well, why don't I have a Publix? Or why don't I have a gas station? Or why don't I have this? And you have to understand, when you're going to a particular community, that's what's there. However, we evolve, families evolve, ages evolve. IBIS is a perfect example of that. When IBIS was first developed, it was a bunch of, may I say it properly and not insult anybody, older folks that wanted a private community, that they wanted to just take their golf carts around and stay within the community, which when we build a community like Avenir and Palm Beach Gardens, we're building a community to capture traffic, not put more traffic on the roads. That community was built so that every service you want is there. You do not have to go looking for it. You don't have to cross the turnpike or 95 to get to a community, an area that offers you a Publix or a hair salon or a bank or whatever you choose. That's thoughtful development. And that's what we need, is thoughtful development. Commerce, having property still available for commerce, I agree with that. As to Commissioner Sachs's point about recreation, being a professional athlete, I am always in favor of what we can do to keep our kids healthy, whether it's indoor training facilities or outdoor multi-purpose fields, but there's plenty of locations around the county, and anytime something gets built, there's a civic attachment to it that, I shouldn't say anytime, but when you're building something more than a single-family house, there is a civic requirement. I think we'll probably be discussing that on a agenda item later on. So I'm okay with still developing commercial, commerce, I should say, and commercial. I don't know, I heard what Commissioner Weiss said. We just keep looking at the ag reserve and wondering, what are we supposed to do here? And I don't know, I'm getting sorry, I'm getting tired of what we're always doing in the ag reserve, because we do need to put the residents in our thoughts, but we also know that as our community gets younger, there are more needs. And that's what we really need to find out. What are the needs? So that's sort of a long-winded way of saying keep as is, keep as is, keep as is. Commercial cap and commerce, I'm amenable to hearing and discussing. Thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
Good morning.
Morning.
We've had an opportunity to listen to the residents and listen to the district commissioner with regard to the Ag Reserve, and we've got a list of options and discussion items from staff. It is my opinion that in order for me to justify a substantial and strong position on this, this would be something I would need to study a little bit more in detail and even take some trips out to the Ag Reserve area to hear from residents who are opposed as well as residents who are in favor. In addition to that, taking into account the district commissioner's comments with regard to this area. Traffic limited by policy 3.5D. We've heard a number of residents indicate that the county should not approve a change to the future land use atlas, which will result in an increase in density, and that's been a concern. As of today, it'd be my opinion to keep that policy as is. A minimum of 60% to be preserved, and it looks at limited uses. The options are to expand, eliminate, keep as is. I would like to have a little bit more information from those who live in the area, the district commissioner, and maybe even have a site visit or some site visits to see the area. So I'll leave my my status on that one as pending, or it depends, which is no real answer, right? Number 3, locational criteria. Another one that I'll say is depending on additional feedback. And then limited to, commercial cap limited to 1,000, I'm sorry.
1 million.
1,015,000 square feet total. I heard someone ask what were the uses out there earlier, and I think it was you, Commissioner Sachs, with regard to asking staff or tasking staff, or maybe it was you, Commissioner Weiss, to find out what uses were there, what's not there, what's needed. Again, I would like to, if this is an option, kind of falter between keep as is and pending to find out a little bit more information. And with that, I'll close my portion of the comments regarding this particular discussion.
Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Has everyone spoken who wants to on this?
We have done round 1. We are starting round 2.
Okay, very good. Very good. Thank you. I think I have some of the smartest colleagues. I've taken notes of what you've said, and if you don't mind, with your permission, I'd like to go over some of them. Commissioner Flores, articulate. Manage your own land. We, District 5, for y'all to know, is not just the Ag Reserve. It goes from the border of Broward County all the way up Hypoluxo, and does border on just about every district here. And so when my people in District 5 want to do something, they go east, eastward ho, and that clogs up the traffic. And that's also become very dangerous for a lot of folks, because when they go east, they like to go for entertainment, and then they got to drive home. And then that can be perilous. So we've got a big area here, and it would be nice if we could use some of this land for the uses of our people, for the uses of our people. And I thought that was very well said, Commissioner Flores. And Commissioner Marino, I liked how you said thoughtful development. I think that's brilliant, because when any area develops, you have to make sure it's thoughtful. and well done and well thought out. How will this serve the residents who live here? Not how is it going to serve another county or on the other side of the county. How will this serve our people? And I thought that was well thought out, Commissioner Marino. And then you also spoke about the traffic situation we all. And you said something interesting too when you said a younger population. We have the greatest influx of population into District 5. Now, sometimes I feel like putting signs, hey, District 1's over there, District 2's over here. No, they're all coming out to my area, and they want services. What they really want is they want a cultural center that they can see shows, Broadway shows, opera. I've spoken to the CEO, Diane, I'm going to mispronounce her last name, Kurgan, of the Kravis Center. Quinn, thank you. And the CEO of the Opera, Palm Beach County Opera, and they have both invited me to bring people from District 5 to the Kravis Center, to the Founders Room, to talk about building a type of Kravis Center out west. So that, yes, we like opera, and we love Broadway shows. And yes, wouldn't it be nice if we could travel within 5 miles to see these shows? Yes, we do love that. We do have culture in our area, and I thought that was very thoughtful. Thank you very much. And Commissioner Powell, you talked about more information and to make sure that we maintain people come to our area, we need to take care of them and make sure they have schools and infrastructure, and also entertainment. So what we are here today is informational. There's no motion required. We're just going to give information back to the staff. And I think that, should I say it or do you want to say it? No, just say it. Okay. We do need more information. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and I was talking about this issue. I said, when do you come out to my area?
Commissioner
he said,
Sachs,
"Why-"
before you wrap up, we do have 2 lights on.
Okay. So you want me to be brief?
No, I'm just letting you know there will be more comments. I will
Okay.
gladly let you wrap up after they're finished,
Okay,
or you can
thank
do it now.
Then I'll close with that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Woodward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did have a question. Are we able to map out so that, we could use some more information? I think the board direction's probably been clear, but also saying that we need more information and have a map of all of the different designations and then helping us understand, because commerce and commercial can get a little confusing on what each of those means. And then when it's mapped out, really breaking those things down for us. Is that something, even the co-op extension could probably help?
We could do that.
I don't think we need to hire a consultant. I think we have staff that can do that.
And also, just as a quick information for the commercial, we do have numbers as of last year. We have some tweaking that we needed to do as far as what's built. There's approximately 700 out of the 1,736,000 that's built square footage, approximately 155 acres as of last year. It's hard because sometimes some of these can't be tracked by just building permits, so we'll do that, and we'll make sure we'll go back to BTRs if necessary, because sometimes uses change within those tenant spaces, but we can have that information for you as well. We'll deep dive to that.
So when you bring that to us, because I know some of it, they built out, and it's not that it's really in the future plans, they just decided to not build what they got entitlements for.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
so that's important for us to know as we talk about that. And I think we have later in today, we're talking about the fitness centers part. Does that fall under commercial or commerce? Commerce. Okay, so yeah, when this comes back, I think we need clearer. The hospital, is that counted under either of those?
No, it's institutional.
Institutional, okay. Yeah, we're gonna need some more on this, so thank you.
Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. While I know it's not the purview of the county, Do we have any idea of how much commercial, commerce, or industrial has been built and is vacant? I know it's not our purview, but, you know, we're, as the vice mayor said, you know, there's people that have said they're going to build and haven't, but I'm talking about what's already been built that is actually vacant. And my other comment was I misspoke when I was talking about the corridor. I would for the location criteria, I would actually like to see more information before I say keep it as is. Thank you. Now I'm done.
Thank you. I have not commented yet. So as far as the options that we're discussing, if you could go there. I am not in favor of raising the commercial cap. So I would like to keep it as is. If you could go, please, to slide 13.
Keep going.
Maybe. There we go. All right. So yes, and we have at least 3 other commissioners who have said they want to keep that commercial cap intact. We have, on the location criteria, I would also like to keep that as is. And the same with preservation requirements, but I do want to, especially after listening to the district commissioner, when you're bringing us back information, I would like information regarding recreational options, and have staff do an analysis where, you know, in the ag reserve, if that's possible, and to potentially, in theaters, so that if you could do some research on that, because everyone wanted to hear from the district commissioner, and I think we've heard and listen, if it comes back and it's terrible, we could say we hate it then. But I think having information is good, and I think the district commissioner should be able to get that information. And then as far as traffic, absolutely keep that as is. No, nobody, I think everyone in the, I can't think of one commissioner up here who doesn't have an issue with traffic in their district. So we're very highly in tune to those issues. But that is it for me. And then I am going to turn it over to Commissioner Sacks to close out.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to make a motion, and it's going to sound just...
A motion, or are you asking for information?
Actually, for information. But it'll be, I guess, in the form, but not in the legal form. So looking at the 4 options for getting increased information, number 1, I would keep as is for the commercial cap. Number 2, I would keep as is. Number 3, let's find out what's going on out there. So let's just keep that open for more information, and then we'll discuss whether we want to expand or eliminate it. And number 4, absolutely keep as is. And I think that pretty much brings in everybody's interest in this. And if I may, there was an idea fronted during this discussion that we can talk about possibly taking a field trip out to see this area that a lot of folks have not seen, and to examine it before we discuss these, so that we know what's out there, agriculturally, as well as traffic, as well as a lack of services, certain services for the folks out there. So we can discuss this we can discuss it now.
I second that idea.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, yeah, I had mentioned to Commissioner Sacks, I thought that, you know, it might make sense to have a meeting out there with all of us, so we can hear
Publicly noticed meeting?
a publicly noticed meeting in the evening. Yeah, I see the attorney shaking his head. I told her publicly notice. You know, that where we could hear from the people live out there, talk about, you know, their thoughts about this, because it was clear to me that we're all trying to get more information about this. So I thought, well, you know, maybe we could do that. So anyways, that was the suggestion, and, you know, if people want to do it, great. If they don't, I guess that's okay too.
Commissioner Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regard to a publicly noticed meeting, to piggyback off of what Commissioner Weiss has indicated, in the world of planning, it may be in our best interest as well to alternate the times of the meetings, maybe not just one meeting. Sorry, maybe there should be a meeting in the evening for those individuals who work, who can't be here during the daytime, who have a difference of opinion, and a meeting in the morning for those individuals who don't like to travel in the afternoon, who don't like to go outside of the house after 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, just to get a good cross-hatch of who is in the community and what the thought processes are. That's just my additional feedback with regard to how we should approach this particular issue.
And we're talking about meetings in the Ag Reserve. Okay.
As the hostess, it's going to be a Saxon Weiss kind of thing here. But I would appreciate it if it's not just the Ag Reserve, but we've got a Bert Aronson Park in southern part. Well, we've got thousands of residents in the southern part of District 5. And we'll arrange it and then we'll make it publicly noted, but we could just travel from one section to the other, speak to the farmers, speak to the folks, young families who live there and who have a real issue with the lack of parks and the lack of playgrounds and swimming pools.
And is it okay with you if Administrator Rutter, Deputy
Oh,
Administrator
I don't
Rutter,
know. I
helps
don't know if there's
coordinate
enough.
this?
Is there a room in the bus for? I'm sure he'll be with us.
Yeah, we would normally give this to Todd, but he's leaving us.
Well, we can invite a guest and.
To arrange a Palm-Tran bus?
And yes, you have to do the pump. And of course, Administrator Bruzo lives in this area, so I'm sure we could pick up folks on the way. We could make it, you know, all the way there. But anyways, I thought that was an excellent idea, and I just wanted to bring it up since it's an amazingly beautiful area. Thank you so much, Mayor, and I appreciate
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
Staff, do you have any questions for us before we move on?
So just to clarify, you want a map of all of our uses and where they're located. You'd like some vacancy rates on the existing?
I
Is
think
that
we
correct?
had the map up there on the uses already in the presentation. I think specifically one of the questions was asked is we want to know what available space that's already been built that has is not currently being used
Or
and what
fully
it's
utilized.
for. Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And then probably we'll schedule a tour or meetings. And then after that, we'll be scheduling a meeting back to report back to the board.
Thank you so much. Okay. We are done with item number 10. Going back to item number 3. Yeah, actually, I usually tell them to stop taking them when the meeting, well, especially when the item starts. Okay, so now they're
make an announcement to everyone.
Okay.
Last chance to put a card in, kind of thing.
All right. Thanks. 1 minute. How many? Well, which are they mostly for? Okay. So item number 3, Cross Bridge Church, if you would please proceed.
Yes, so item number 3 is DOA CA 2025-434 Cross Bridge.
Wendy, forgive me. We do need to do disclosures.
Correct.
Commissioner Sachs, we'll start with you.
On regular agenda 3, Crossbridge Church, I'm sorry. Correspondence, emails received and filed with the clerk. Verbal communication with Brian Terry, Zach Kepler, Rob Taylor, all filed with the clerk. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 3, I received email correspondence, been filed with the clerk.
Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, I have written communication with Claire Elliott from Insight Studio, no verbal communications and no site visits.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Woodward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Crossbridge Church, I had verbal communication with Brian Terry and email correspondence filed with the clerk, no site visit.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Crossbridge Church, verbal communication with Brian Terry and email correspondence has been filed with the clerk.
Commissioner Marino.
Thank you, Mayor. Crossbridge Church, I had verbal communication with Brian Terry and Zach Kepler, and I filed written correspondence with the clerk. Thank you.
And for myself, item number 3, I have emails that have been filed with the clerk and verbal communication with Brian Seymour and Brian Terry, no site visit. And please proceed, Wendy.
Yeah. So item number 3 is DOA CA 2025-434 Crossbridge Church. The request before the board is, there are 3 of them, a development order amendment modifying the plan unit development, specifically the civic pod, adding square footage. The second request is to allow a private school in that civic pod, as well as the third request to allow a general daycare in the civic pod. And I can turn it over to the applicant to do a summary if you guys want. I don't know if there's any cards on this one, but.
We have no cards. Please proceed, Mr. Terry.
Okay, great. Good morning, Mayor, Commission. Again, I can provide a full presentation or a brief version of that. I think that, again, this is an opportunity. This is a local congregation. I'll go ahead and proceed real briefly. Again, the opportunity here is to provide for some additional services with a local congregation. This is located at the corner of Judge Winnicott and State Road 7, down the southwestern portion of the county. This is the existing facilities. This was really born out of 2 congregations, the First Baptist Church as well as the Boca Glades Baptist. And ultimately, the beginning of this congregation was developed in 1988. Over the years, there have been a multitude of buildings constructed. What the proposal here is today is really to combine those. There'll be some demolition of some of the older facilities that are now aged, no longer really valuable for the purposes they need to serve, and then a combination of those buildings into one singular facility. Wendy mentioned the applications that we have in front, which really stems around the desire for the congregation to be able to provide for daycare services as well as K through 5 elementary private school on the campus. This is the existing site plan. It's approximately 35,000 square feet of all of those combined buildings together. In total, we're looking to be an additional approximately 30,000 square feet. So by combining the 2 buildings together as well as providing for a second story on what would be the classroom building itself, we're getting up to about 60,000 square feet. Here's a quick rendition of what the plan looks like. Again, very similar to what you see out there today as far as the configuration, the traffic flow, how the site works. It does become one singular building, and I'll show you the elevations. The primary improvements are to address potential stacking with the daycare and the school use. And so you'll see some of the modifications on the left-hand side of the plan, which allows for that double queue stacking to allow for that drop-off on the backside of the building. Architecturally, these are the renderings of what this facility would look like in its full build-out. So it's a substantial investment and improvement in the overall the building itself. I won't bore you too much with the architectural floor plans, but you can, again, it's divided up into the sanctuary and then the classroom and the daycare components. And there are a series of traffic improvements. I'm certainly happy to dig into those if you would like. We've been working with the staff for multiple months here based on the intensities being proposed, and I think we've addressed all those concerns and their conditions of approval, which we're in agreement with. So again, we appreciate it. We've been working with staff quite a bit. They are supportive of this. We had, I believe, unanimous recommendation of approval at the Zoning Commission, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Sacks, this is your district. Do you have any comments?
Actually, thank you. Sir, could you tell us what year, how long this church has been there?
It began construction, the property came available in 1988, and then there's been
1988.
Correct.
And what is would this child care center, would it be open only to congregants during services, or would it also be open to people in your community who may use some of your services?
No, absolutely. This will be open daily, and for any resident within the community, not necessarily a member of the congregation, will be able to utilize those services, correct?
Do you offer, besides wanting to offer childcare, do you also offer services or community, and I'm not talking about religious services, but services to folks who want to learn English, who may not know English as their native tongue?
Right, great question. Yes, currently, some of the classrooms are utilized for English as a second language, which would continue. Probably there'll be some transition as we work through utilizing those space, but they've been a core part of the community for a long time, for decades now at this point. And again, this will just allow them to expand those services.
Okay, thank you. No further questions this time.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
Thank you very much. I'd like to move, and I'm looking for the magic words here. I'd like
To approve or deny item 3?
Let me see here. To approve a resolution, let me see, to adopt a resolution. I'm going to need a little help from staff, because you have A, B, and C, and can we incorporate all of them into one?
Yes, you can. So
Good.
I think you're looking for to adopt a resolution approving items 3A, B, and C.
You say that so well. Done.
I have a
Okay.
motion by Commissioner Sacks. I have a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, we are going to do disclosures, starting from right to left. Commissioner Marino? My right.
Thank you. I have had verbal communications with Seth Ben and Robert Preston and filed a multitude of correspondence with the clerk.
Commissioner Powell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've had verbal communication with Seth Bain and several written correspondence that have been filed with the clerk.
Vice Mayor Woodward?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had verbal communication with Seth Ben, Robert Preston, and emails filed with the clerk. No site visit.
Commissioner Flores?
Written and verbal communication with Seth Ben, and no site visit.
Commissioner Weiss?
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Seth Bean and email correspondence filed with the clerk.
Commissioner Sacks?
Preston residents, I've had verbal with Seth Bain, emails received and filed with the clerk.
Thank you. I, for item number 4, have received communication from Seth Bain. They have been filed with the clerk. No verbal communications, no site visit. Staff, if you would like to proceed.
Okay. So the item number 4 is Z 2025-01889 Preston Residences. We have one request before the board, which is an official zoning map amendment to allow the rezoning of the 1.67 acre parcel from the residential estate zoning classification to the residential transition classification. So I can turn it over to the applicant, and they can go through their request.
Please proceed, Mr. Bain.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Seth Bain. I'm a certified land planner and attorney with Lewis, Longman & Walker. I'm here today on behalf of Robert Preston, the property owner of this property and applicant in this request. I'm also joined by James Hackett, the project planner for this development. This is the request today. We're asking to rezone residential estate property of 1.67 acres to the residential transition zoning district. That's the request before you today. And here's the context of where this property is located. This is the Square Lake community, south of North Lake and bordered on the east side by Military Trail. So this is the story of the community of Square Lake. Square Lake was platted in 1951, and this is what that original plat looked like. At that time, the entire plat encompassed 326 acres, 112 residential units, no commercial along any of it, entirely residential. However, the story of Square Lake is the story of a community that has evolved with the surrounding community that evolved with it, with the changes that occurred over time. In 1960, this is what the Square Lake community looked like. It was at the edge of rural development. There was not much going on there. You see a little bit of development starting to occur in the area, but it was still a relatively rural area. Of course, that's not the context this community finds itself in today. This is what Square Lake looks like today. It is within the heavily developed urban core of northern Palm Beach County. So what did that evolution look like? Well, comparing both the original plat and as it exists today, what occurred? Well, the largest change was that in recognition of these corridors that bordering it becoming large developed urban corridors, the entire border of the area of the community was transitioned to commercial and mixed uses. So all of that was removed from the residential portion of the plat and rezoned into some form of commercial and relatively intense commercial lining the community. Within that original plat, there were areas designated for schools and for parks. Those areas were removed from the plat and converted to residential lots throughout both of those two sections from that original. And a system of half a dozen roads that did not exist on that original plat were introduced into the community. That new system of roads allowed for all of those original plots to become subdivided to create a mix of housing sizes or lot sizes and types far different from what was originally conceived. So what do you have today? You have 145 acres of that original plat converted to the commercial. You have a remaining 240 acres that's residential. Within that 240, there's 175 units. So from that 112 that was originally platted, there's 175 in the remaining residential area, which means in reality, the density of this community is double what it was today. The reality of that community, I've spent some time in there, and I'm sure we have residents here that have been there far longer than I, but as a planner driving through there, what you have is a community that has a mixture of housing sizes. They're all residential, single family, but it's a variety of sizes throughout there. So let's look at that zoning map. So here's where the property is located on your zoning map today. So the areas in yellow are residential estate, and the areas in the darker color are the areas that have already been rezoned to residential transition. This did go to the zoning commission. At the time, the zoning commission, the discussion that was had and the recommendation for denial said, hey, this isn't touching other residential transition properties. It looks like maybe this is leapfrog development. We don't think that this is consistent. But this is the reality of the community out there. All of the shaded in lots here are under an acre in size today, which is to say that none of them conform to the existing residential estate zoning in which they're located. And importantly, if you look at our lot, we are an island surrounded by lots that are smaller than 1 acre. All 3 lots to the south, the 2 lots that are to the west, the 4 lots that are across the street and slightly to the north, all under an acre. None of them conform to the existing zoning. The history of this subdivision through here is one that some of it probably occurred prior to the existing zoning code being put in place. Some of it probably occurred by deed transfer that never had anybody talk to anyone other than when they handed a deed to the property appraiser. We've dealt with that issue plenty. But even if that were the case, then the reality is the zoning code was put in place here that wasn't consistent with the properties or the development in the area. Because this is the pattern. The pattern is a variety of housing sizes, or lot sizes throughout here. Oop, I went the wrong way. So, as I said, so in this community, there are 15 lots that are less than a half acre in size. There's 42 lots, less than 3/4, and a full 62 lots within this community that are under 1 acre. So yes, the idea here is we have 1.62 acres. With this rezoning, we would be able to subdivide this into 2 lots. The plan is 1 lot with the existing house would be 0.9 acres. The second lot would be 0.75, so 3/4 of an acre would be the large lot. And that is not unusual by any means looking at this community. And in fact, when you take the existing RT and those that are non-conforming and should be RT, it is fully half the community. This is a transitional community. It's transitioning from that heavy commercial that exists along the corridor to this community of lot sizes. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about creating 1 additional lot, that the smaller one would be 3/4 of an acre, still a significant size, consistent with the lots that are in the community, consistent with the lots that are adjacent to it. So that's that point. Turning to the staff report, your professional zoning staff reviewed this request. They found that it is consistent with the existing development pattern and with the surrounding area. They recognized that it met the requirements of the comprehensive plan. This lot being over 1.5 acres is vested for 2 units under your comprehensive plan. I know there was some discussion about that at the zoning commission, but that is how the policy is applied, that if it's larger than 1.5, you have the opportunity to develop as 2 lots. And that's taken directly from your staff report, and your staff recommends approval of this request subject to the conditions of approval. So I just want to wrap this up. It's consistent with the underlying future land use. It's consistent with the immediately adjacent and surrounding properties. There's virtually no impacts resulting from this rezoning. We're talking about introducing 1 additional residential lot in this community. The change to the density of the overall community would be 0.01. Staff recommends approval. I'd be happy to address any questions you might have, and I'd like to reserve a few minutes after public comment to address anything that might come up.
Thank you. We're going to take some comment cards now. Commissioner Flores, and we have a lot of cards left for a lot of different items. So we're going to limit this to 1 minute, and if we have questions.
Would you like a presentation from staff before?
I would like a presentation from staff,
I want
please.
people who came here to be able to get in their comments prior to us taking a lunch break, so they do not have to wait until afterwards if you want presentations from staff. But I would like to hear from the residents.
Mayor, this is my district, and
Okay.
I would appreciate staff having a presentation because there was a 0-9 vote and so I would like to hear staff, and I would like to hear why that vote came to be. Thank you.
Sure. Staff, please proceed.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Shannon Webb with Zoning Division, presenting for Preston Residences. The site is located within the Square Lake subdivision, about 0.2 miles south of North Lake Boulevard on the west side.
Excuse me. I don't want you to repeat anything that the petitioner said. Whatever additional you have, an explanation for why it was a 0-9 vote. And my question is, all of those that are RT, when were they voted in RT? And as RT, does that mean they were subdivided? Or was it RT so that they can do additions to their current residents? Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you. And not to dismiss anything with regard to what Commissioner Moreno just said, but also sometimes when staff does its presentation, some things may just overlap, but I think it's important because there's additional background that she may have in her analysis that may overlap, but may be more important to understand with regard to the justification for the request and for your summary of why there was, and she would be indicating why staff has indicated an approval as opposed to the board that came before us with a 0-9 vote. So I don't know if that board, that the zoning commission, if everything they decided was based on staff analysis or their own personal perspective, but I do know that when a staff person or when the justification statement's done or a summary analysis of the project is done, they may have additional information. So I don't want to negate what Commissioner Marino indicated. However, if you have information that I don't know with regard to this project that would be helpful, even if it appears to overlap a little, I would just like to hear that. Sorry.
So we're going to try to, again, just make it brief, but if you could do the entire presentation and just try not to overlap on what has
Okay.
already been said. Thank
All
you.
right. Yes, so we know the request is to rezone from residential estate to
And
residential
forgive me, one last request. Could you
transitional.
speak closer, pull it to, so we can all hear you?
Sure, sorry.
There we go. Thank you.
So yeah, the request here is to allow rezoning from residential estate to residential transitional. And this again shows the surrounding areas, a mix of residential estate, and there is existing residential transitional in the neighborhood. And the request is consistent with the LR1 future land use designation per the comprehensive plan. And the site meets and exceeds all the property development regulations for the RT zoning district. There's no development proposed in this current application. However, the applicant has submitted the a administrative application to subdivide into 2 residential lots.
And what is your opinion on why the zoning board declined this?
The main reason was Commissioner Kennedy did not believe this was consistent with the development patterns. So she thought it was a bit of a leapfrog zoning. However, we do think it is still consistent with the development trends for Square Lake, since there are many lots that are less than 1 acre, and many are already rezoned to RT and have been subdivided after they've been rezoned.
Thank you. Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Or so, you showed a lake on that property. I've been made aware that the lake was filled. I just want to know, I just want to make sure that it was permitted, which I did get confirmation from staff that it was permitted to do so. As for the RT for subdivision, can you tell us the most recent time that that has happened?
The most recent subdivision we had were, can you go back to the graphics with the, yes, that one. Okay, on the left side of the screen, you can see there's 4 lots closer to North Lake Boulevard. That was a 4-acre parcel. The board approved rezoning that to the residential transition zoning classification, and then they were subsequently approved to subdivide into 1-acre properties.
When?
Let me look really quick. 2023?
That was the one where we had been presented with a possibly putting in ALF or something on that? Or is that a property further to the north?
That was further to the north.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that is 1 acre per unit?
Actually, it's to the west.
West, and
Yeah.
that's 1 acre per unit there?
That's also 1 unit per acre on those,
Okay.
yep.
And can you please explain the roundup or how that works? Because I've gotten lots of questions on it, and it still is confusing.
Turn it over to Travis.
Please rise. Yeah. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So as to the rounding so-called, there's a policy in the comprehensive plans, future land use element policy 2.2.1-G. Shannon has it up on the screen. This is the way that the planning division has applied density calculations for a multitude of projects that have come before the board or through the division over many years. So when you're calculating units per acre, that's density. and not every property is a round number. So when you result, like this one is 1.67 acres for the application, that times 1 unit per acre, 1.67. That policy in the middle of the paragraph says when there is a fractional remainder that is 0.5 or greater, you round up to the nearest dwelling unit. In this case, that would be 2. So the comprehensive plan is indicating that 2 units would be the maximum available to this land. It's not a guarantee, it's the maximum that would be available.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot my question. On this, if this were to move forward, the second parcel, it would still be it's a one single family that would, if we subdivide this, like they're not gonna build a row of townhomes or anything, that this would just be a single family home?
Single-family home.
Okay, and the map that you showed, it looked like the one directly west of it, is that the subdivide that they're proposing? The one that's directly to, yeah. So not like the vertical up and down, it's the east-west subdivide?
East-west,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
You want to use comment cards?
We're going to call up the residents now.
All right, so there are several. Please come up to the podium. There are 2 podiums you can line up to be more efficient. I have Chris Janke, Jill Gavani, Chris Anderson, Sue Anderson, Shirley DeLuna, Catherine Mulford, Jean Seabury, Joseph and Amy Forcade, and Gail Martin.
There's 9, I'm sorry, we're having discussion between commissioners on the time. There's 9 cards.
For this item.
1 minute or 2 minutes? The
We'd
district commissioner is
appreciate 2
requesting
minutes,
2.
please.
Sure, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Commissioners, Mayor. Thank you for your time today. My name's Chris Jonke. I'm a local business owner, have stores on North Lake Boulevard. I am also a very long-term resident of the Square Lake neighborhood. I've lived there. I grew up there when I was 15 years old. I rode my bike around there. I moved out of that neighborhood and then moved back. And I've been living there for about 20 years now. Homeowner. We love our neighborhood. It is designated as a bird sanctuary. We have a lot of unique wildlife. It's a very special place. Traffic, as you know, on North Lake and Military, it's already a problem. North Lake and Military, people use our neighborhood as a cut through. We don't have sidewalks. It's a safe place for residents to live. Bringing in a higher density of housing is what we're concerned with. It's we set it up if the property gets rezoned, the rules change, and it ends up setting a precedence for additional development within the neighborhood. That's what a lot of us are concerned with. You split it into 2 and you use this roundup rule, and all of a sudden developers like Mr. Preston can come in and they can drop three lots. That changes how the infrastructure works. A lot of us have, all of us have septic. When you start introducing a higher density of homes, we now are going to have to be introduced to city sewer. That's going to impede on a lot of residents that live in that area. I've had septic, I have well water. I don't want city water, I don't want city sewer. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jill Gavani, and I reside at 4960 82nd Street North, Palm Beach County, Florida. I live in the Square Lake development. I have lived there for 36 years and raised my family there. The reason we are opposed to this rezoning is because, again, it adds more density to our neighborhood. I'd like to point out that Mr. Preston did not have an attorney at our first meeting, and I see that because he lost so miserably, he hired one for this, so he would try to fare a little bit better. No one in Square Lake has city sewer, none of us. And the contingency on this is that he would get sewer from somewhere. And some of us are lucky enough to have city water, but the others, we are all on well water. So we all have septic tanks. And Mr. Preston thinks that he's gonna get a sewer run to his home and his home only within our development. And I just don't know how he can do that. We've voted to have city sewer many times, and we've always lost because we've never had 51%. Now, for his idea of separating and rezoning his property, he already has one single-family home on there, and it's already has one existing detached garage. So he's full. He's full on 1.67 acres. I don't know where he's going to get the sewer to come in and allow him to build another unit on less than 1 acre. So although some units in here are zoned smaller and are existing, we are all on a septic tank. That's where the 1 acre per one home comes in to account. And we just don't want to see the precedent of being subdivided in our neighborhood. If we take 162 residents and let everybody split and round up, we end up with 331 homes. So that was presented at the last meeting. So everybody voted unanimously to not approve this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Sue Anderson. I'm a resident of Square Lake for the last 38 years. And I have a hard time with public speaking, so this is very difficult for me to do. I disagree with the rezoning strictly because I do believe that it will set a precedent for the neighborhood, and I do believe that other developers will come in and try and do the same. And as Jill just pointed out, that could double the amount of the homes in our community. We bought in Square Lake because of the size of the lots and the closeness to everything in town. I've gone back through some of the zoning maps, and in answer to Commissioner Marino's question, since 1993, there have been 5 subdivisions done from RE to RT. I have the information right here for you. Not one of those lots is under 1 acre of land, not one. The most recent one was done off of Lillian. It was called Cato Residence. The gentleman had probably a quarter of an acre. He wanted to put 3 houses on it. The commission held him to 2. Each lot is 1.35 of an acre. That was done in 2004. Stick with that. That's what you've been doing. Please stay with that and keep our neighborhood the way it is. Thank you.
Good afternoon, pretty much. My name is Chris Anderson. I live at 8675 Square Lake Drive, Palm Beach Gardens. First, I'd like to say on record, I'm against the rezoning of this 1.67 acre property. As of right now, there's an 1,820 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home on the southern side of the property, and a 30 by 40, 1,200 square foot detached CBS shop with a full-length concrete pad in the rear of the shop. My question to the board is, if this rezoning passes, can other neighbors with detached guest houses apply for rezoning and then sell them as separate homes for profit? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Shirley DeLuna. I also live in Square Lake. I've been there over 30 years. Since I've been there, nobody has rezoned to under 1 acre. Now, counsel for Preston Estates showed a graph and a map, and he said, look, it's all contiguous, it's all compatible. Well, it isn't. The RTs that exist in that neighborhood, if they're under 1 acre, were done in the 60s, way before there were certain regulations set forth by boards and commissioners who knew what to do with local planning and future planning. Now, we have had some RTs since, but again, what they neglected to tell you when they presented their case, those RTs were for a pole barn or a mother-in-law's home or an addition. So to show you a map and say, look at all these RTs, look at all these RTs, look at this RT. Acres over here, RTs that have been rezoned for purposes of building the people who live there. Now, council said, I drove through Square Lake. What a nice place. Well, I live there. And I don't think that taking that parcel and dividing it up and making 2 homes there and saying, well, I'll get city water. I can do that. I'll bring it in, I'll get it, because I'm going to make double the money when I sell 2 homes. I don't care about the character of Square Lake. I'm leaving. Mr. Preston's not going to live there. And as far as the zoning board, you didn't hear what was said there, but I can tell you I did. The person that gave the presentation there skimmed over the RTs and why they were given, skimmed over the question that was posed, when was the last parcel subdivided? Skimmed over those things, and I think somebody on the board said, well, it's like you're shooting blanks. You guys don't have the information. You don't have what we need to take this community and to subdivide that, and then leave the rest of the community to deal with it. What's the benefit to our community? The benefit is to the Prestons. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Mulford. I live at 8315 South Bates Road, Palm Beach Gardens, Square Lake. Thank you, Commissioners and Mayor. I'm specifically in opposition to the rezoning of 8781 North Virginia Avenue in Square Lake. My husband and I both have approximately 60 years of involvement in Square Lake. We love living in Square Lake. I'm part of a committee that has worked with the county zoning department many times over the past 25 years, dealing with commercial properties being proposed and built along our bordering roads, as well as other rezoning projects within Square Lake. We do not have an HOA. All of the properties that have been rezoned to RT in the last 30 years have had to stay within the 1 residence per actual acre of physical property, mainly because of our septic tanks and our well water. Okay, in the presentation at the zoning meeting made by the owner's representative, and again today, it was brought up that there were 55 properties in Square Lake, that are under 1 acre. I can assure you, if this is true, all of these properties were resized in or before the 1960s. No property in Square Lake has been rezoned and made smaller than 1 acre in many, many years. Mr. Preston's full intent of rezoning is to use the 1989 rounding rule out of context to split his 1.67 acres into 2 buildable lots. He wants to split the property for profit and nothing else. He has no intention of living in Square Lake. He just wants to split the property into 2 lots, sell them, and move on to his next project. It's unacceptable to those of us that live here for the reason of having the large space and peace and quiet around us. That's why we moved here to begin with. If this is allowed, it will set a very bad precedent moving forward for other developers to be able to come in, buy up properties, rezone, and cut them up again and again. This will lower our land values and ruin our way of life. Thank you.
Good day. My name's Joseph Forcade, and I live on South Elizabeth, and I'm one of the properties that's listed as RT. I can tell you a little bit of the history of that real quick. It was rezoned because they gave part of our land over to our neighbor to help out with the horse farm that she has over there. So that just tells you, we've always been a community that works together. And rezoning this the way they're talking and proposing is scary because we have water that is coming out of our wells. We've got septic going out there, and a lot of these are coming through, and what they're not telling you is most of those RTs are undeveloped. That's where they've come through and told us, hey, we're developing a whole barn. We're gonna clean up the property over there so we can start doing maybe horses or something else over there. And you're going, oh, great, fantastic. And then you come back in here, oh, well, I'm subdividing, I'm gonna cut it up, and I won't lie to you. He's not the only developer I've had show up at my property, knocking on my door, asking, can I buy your property? Why? I can divide this into 4 houses. It's already RT. That's scary to know that my 2 acres can get cut up into 4 houses, and just that small little piece right in the heart of our community. Our community is diverse. We work together. We do a lot together as a community. We don't want to see this come in because I don't want to live in Miami. I don't want to live in Broward. When I left the military, I lived in Miami. I came to Palm Beach so I didn't have to have that experience. I don't want 4 hours to drive to work. I'm just telling you, as living there, it's been a blessing to have our land the way it is and our community the way it is. And we have a lot of these developers, and they're constantly talking to us about, we want to get your property. We can cut it up. You don't realize you can make $1.5 million. You can make $1 million here. I don't care about that. I plan on dying in that house. I'm not leaving. It took me 18 years to buy in there.
Very hard.
Very hard to get in there. But I saved my money and I bought into that community for a reason. And I want to keep that community as that. Thank you.
Please honor our wishes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Gail Martin, and I've been a resident of Square Lake, which is an unincorporated area, for 30 years. My neighbors, we have 30, 40, 50 years and more. I'm the one who is the agricultural property, and I have paid for my property because I worked for the Public Defender's Office through horse boarding. And we also have a bird sanctuary. We have peacocks. I, being an equestrian, I've photographed rare birds, including the burrowing owl, and riding as I do. There's gopher tortoise there as well. We've also photographed a Florida panther. The reason for purchasing there, because it's a peaceful community where the residents love one another. They care for one another. When there's someone sick, for years at a time, we bring food, we care for them, and make sure they're okay. I grew up in the Middle West, and this is the kind of place that we all want to live. Rezoning this, and there's already a property up for sale where the people passed away. They're already advertising, and you can split this up into 7 lots. I've been offered millions of dollars for my property. I wouldn't sell my property and give up on my neighbors for 1 iota, ever. It's such a good place to live. Our children are safe. We have a crime watch. But we don't have a homeowners association, but I've gone around and gotten signatures from every single person in the neighborhood because we care about one another. I'm respectfully asking you to reject this zoning on North Virginia and any other parcel in Square Lake. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jean Syberry, 4727 Square Lake Drive. I was the third house out there my parents bought, so I've lived out there for 68 years. My children grew up there, my grandchildren, and one of my grandchildren just purchased a house directly across from the Prestons, and that's where my great-grandchild is growing up. So that's 5 generations. And it is a wonderful community. I really hate to see it become an object of money grabbers. I intend on living there until I die, and I'm 77. And I do hope that you leave it as it is, because there's foxes, the rabbits, the squirrels. We have no sidewalks. We have no street lights. It's very peaceful and quiet. And it's the only place I feel in that area that is like that. And that's why it's difficult to buy in there. You pretty much have to wait for somebody to die for the property to get passed on. And I know all of my neighbors. I feel very safe and calm there. I do hope that you vote in our favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
I would like to make a motion to deny.
Do you want the applicant to rebuttal?
Yes, please.
Please, Mr. Bain.
Thank you. Just to not belabor the point, there's no precedent being made here. The reality of this community is that it was a variety of lot sizes, of scales. The zoning, probably from its inception, should have been RT, because when you made a zoning designation that made half the lots of the community non-conforming, or that non-conforming evolved that way, it's actually created a burden on these properties that shouldn't exist. Some of our finest communities in this county have lots less than a ½ acre throughout the entire thing. PGA, Old Palm. This is not a burden on it. It's consistent with the properties that touch this property all around it. It's consistent with the nature of that community. It's creating an opportunity for another housing a unit in an area, in a community that would be a benefit to everybody, and virtually no negative impacts to the community. So I would request you reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a motion. Do I have a second? I do have a second by Commissioner. Commissioner Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm looking at this from a planning perspective. I've looked at the lot, and this is just very quickly. The subject lot is right now 1.67 acres. It sits adjacent to the lots that are to the, the west. And I get it, I understand the concern of the residences. The lots to the west have already been subdivided at 0.86 acres and 0.69 acres. This is a total of 1.67 acres.
Wendy, would you like to clarify,
I'm sorry,
please?
those lots, I don't know if they've been subdivided, but those lots appear on the property appraiser's website to be 0.86 acres. Can we bring up the aerial? And can you blow that up a little bit? So the lots to the left, right, of the subject property, those lots are not split? They're not split. That's not two lots. Because the property appraiser showed it as two lots with two separate units. There's a house located at the first unit and the second unit. So what we're looking at would not be unsimilar to what I'm looking at on the property appraiser's website. And I'm speaking as if I was doing this as a planner. I understand why staff has recommended approval. In addition to that, the conversation or the concerns with regard to septic, to sewer, that's a whole nother process that is not addressed in this particular application. This is an application that's strictly based on rezoning from RE to RT, which is not unlike other properties within this division. The subdivision is a completely separate application. Someone came up and they spoke with regard to a bird sanctuary and unique wildlife. Again, that would be analyzed in another application because it's not analyzed within, unless I missed something in the documents that were provided to us today. Again, this is not a subdivision application today. Staff, am I wrong?
You are correct. This is just a rezoning
Okay.
application.
And there are other residents or other lots in this particular area that are similar. And I understand from the residents' perspective of the concern that this could allow a precedent for other applications to come in the same way. But we sit here, and I sit with this board, and comprehensively, we sat here 2 days ago, and we indicated that we would like for single-family properties to be able to put 2 units on 1 lot. That's not with regard to this particular area, this application, but this application is a rezoning application. A subdivision application would be completely different. So I've taken notes. I've listened to the residents as they've come up. I've read through the analysis and the justification statement from the applicant. The challenge is, for me, and this is not the rest of the board, I analyze this from a completely different perspective, and I come from a different world where the #1 goal of a planner is to serve the public interest, and I get the background information that you all are providing. However, in my professional opinion, based on what I'm seeing today, I agree with staff in the recommendation to move forward with the approval of the rezoning application. Now, again, the subdivision application will come at a later time, but I can't in good conscience pretend like I don't have all this information in front of me. I have heard the residents, and if my argument was based solely on listening to residents, I would agree that we shouldn't move forward. But because I have additional information and I understand exactly what I'm looking at, I'm in favor of staff's recommendation today.
Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to ask for some clarification on his question, but first I did want to know, because it was brought up several times about septic and well water. Is that something that we would require, or is this something that this property owner is choosing to want to do?
The existing single-family home is on well and septic. In order to subdivide to get the additional unit, they would have to connect to water and wastewater services.
Okay, and would this be something that it would make any of the neighbors be required to participate in?
No. We've got confirmation
Please.
from Seacoast that they used to have a 51% rule. They've emailed our staff in response to that issue that came up during zoning commission. They're not subject to a 51% rule. If lines are brought in, it would be the sole responsibility of that owner to pay for the lines to come down to service those lots.
Okay, and that's something we received in writing from Seacoast?
In writing from Seacoast.
Okay, thank you for that. I did have another question about pole barns that are on some of these lots that are zoned. I'm a little confused on if these properties, because I looked at the property appraiser's website as well, and they're separate parcels. Whether or not there's a pole barn or a home on it, these separate parcels, are they allowed, if they have a pole barn, to take the pole barn down and put a home? If they're already zoned in these smaller increments? I was confused. It was brought up that
Okay.
these other parcels don't actually have a home. It was rezoned, but all they put on there was a pole barn. If it's any of these smaller, on the map, any of the smaller ones that are showing, and there is an existing pole barn, because it's already zoned for, or subdivided, and it is subdivided, right? Or
So the property
little
right now,
confused.
the subject property right now is not subdivided.
No, the one to the west, or the
Okay.
ones to the south.
The
Any of the ones
to
that
the
are around it.
south were built in the 60s and 70s, and they have single-family homes on them with detached garages or pole barns. They are built with structures on them. What we had seen in other rezonings that have occurred, and I wrote some of them down, that we've been rezoning parcels in this area 2021, 2022, 2023. The reasons were so that they could build additions onto their houses, build pole barns so they could have the reduced setbacks that the RT provides.
And
So-
we've done those in the past 5 years.
Yeah, I pulled up 4 of them alone and
Okay.
while I was sitting here.
And I guess it is when we talk about setting precedent, if I'm looking at this correctly, what's the property to the west, they're proposing to replicate that, right? It'll be a mirror images?
The 2 properties to the west have been in that configuration since the 89 plan, so those 2 lots are already subdivided.
No, I know.
Yeah. Oh.
But what they're proposing to subdivide would mirror
That one, yep,
those 2.
correct.
Okay, I agree with Commissioner Powell. I'm struggling on having, I guess, substantial evidence presented today that would say to vote for a denial on this, because what's been presented, I would agree with staff on this, so thank you.
Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
I'm looking at our attorney and have the discussion that, one of my favorites, what is it when we were coming to deny, it's based on what?
Any decision you make has to be based on competent and substantial evidence presented to you.
So at this point, we have made a motion to deny, and my question is, on what competent, what again?
And substantial evidence.
Substantial evidence. That's my question right now.
I
And I don't
cannot
know who
answer
can
that
answer that.
question. I did not make that motion.
Okay, so am I deferring that to the person that made the motion?
I'd assume so.
Okay, so, because from my standpoint, I have not received that substantial evidence that would back that. As I sit here and I look, there are, this subdivision or rezoning, because that's what we're addressing here, it's not a subdivision, it's rezoning, is compatible with this area.
Yes.
So I don't see how we deny this, based on our burden of proof or that substantial evidence. As I sit here, I must agree with Commissioner Powell. Nothing has been presented to us. From the resident standpoint, I completely understand what you're saying. But from our duty up here is very different, and we can't make decisions on emotions. It's based on zoning and rules that we have set forth. And if we don't live by those, then it would be an unfair process. So at this point in time, I don't agree with the denial.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yeah, and I hear my colleagues, what they're saying, and honestly, I concur with what they're saying. This reminds me a lot of an area that I represent, which is called Pioneer Road. It is what is being referred to as a rural enclave within a higher developed area. What we did for Pioneer Road is we did an overlay for them that put additional restrictions in there. Because I think your issue is not the zoning per se. The issue is the subdivision. That's what the issue is. And going beneath a 1 acre, having lots being, created less than 1 acre. And I totally understand that. I think that an argument could be made that this does alter the development patterns in your community in order to deny this, but I can also agree that with staff's recommendation as well, that they just see it as it is consistent with what has been developed out there. My suggestion would be if this does move forward, that you work with your district commissioner and you work with staff to get what's called an overlay put in place that would limit going forward what could happen. As it relates to, now I want to go back to this issue, and I know it's not the zoning issue, but this sewer connect. My understanding under state law, that if sewer is brought in front of a property, the property owners where that line runs must attach to it. Can somebody get me an answer on that?
I'll have to follow up with you on that one, because I don't have the answer right now. So.
I know water is optional,
Yep.
but my understanding is with sewer, that if they pull a sewer line up the street, everybody must attach to it.
While they're looking it up, do you mind if we move on to Commissioner Sacks to speak?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I find this very interesting because it's a classic example of checking the boxes and what do the people want. One of the boxes in zoning is an interesting word that I like because I understand it. It's compatibility. So I looked up compatibility. I'm not a land planner, I'm just a little lawyer, so that I could meet with Commissioner Powell's background. And in zoning and land use planning, compatibility refers to how well different land uses, buildings, or activities can coexist without creating conflicts or negative impacts on the neighboring property and people. I think that one box of compatibility is important because zoning exists so that you don't have one unusual use, such as maybe a fertilizer company, right next to an elementary school and residences. Or if you don't have small lots that will be zoned for zero lot line, that love city and county services, next to folks who have horses and agricultural uses and prefer sewage and well water. So I think that one little box is important, because you got to make the people happy. We exist here not to break up parcels so that we have more housing. We exist here, I exist here, to see how the people are. Do they like it? Then that's where they should be. If they don't like it, then it's up to government to help them coexist with compatible uses. So I agree with the district commissioner that, and I really do believe, to the attorney's point, yes, compatibility is a compelling and substantial reason to deny a development that the people don't want. Why? Because it's not compatible. It's not compatible. The second thing that is of interest, and that's what, and I'll be brief, what Commissioner Weiss brought up is sewage and county water or city water. I know for a fact that if you have well water and the county wants to bring in water, but you don't want to hook up to well water, you don't want to hook up to city or county water, you still must pay for the pipes that come into your development, and that ain't cheap. That's not cheap, and that is not the resident's desire. If a resident doesn't want to be on county or city water, they want to continue on well water, then this is still the United States of America. But if there's a group that says, no, we want to have city or county water, those folks who don't want to hook up still have to pay for the pipes coming in. That I know for a fact. When regard to what Commissioner Weiss brought up, we'll probably have to research that, because I don't know that for a fact. But I go, and I have a lot of respect for our county, for the district commissioner for this area. She represents the people, and I know that Ms. Preston's been doing a lot of work on this. I appreciate that. But the first person that I look at, the first issue, is what do the people want? And if we can fit that within a substantial evidence to deny, I think compatibility fits right into that. So I would go along with the district commissioner.
Thank you. Do we have an answer for Commissioner Weiss?
No, it takes a few minutes, well, a little more than a few minutes to look these things up, so.
Mayor, I'm in contact with Water Utilities trying to get the answer, hoping to get
Okay.
as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell, did you want to make a substitute motion?
Madam Mayor, I have no desire to make a substitute motion. The district commissioner has made a motion. It is my desire,
To vote.
to vote.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I will not be voting in the affirmative for her motion, but it is not my desire to make a substitute motion unless this motion is not successful. Then we could entertain a separate motion.
Clerk, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Marino,
In favor of denial.
Commissioner Powell,
I am not in support of the motion that was made.
Commissioner Sacks, Commissioner Wise,
Yes.
for the benefit of the clerk, could you clarify the yes?
The motion was to deny the application. So we have one yes, one.
Thank you. Okay, so I am in favor of denying the application. Thank you.
And Commissioner Weiss? In favor of denying the application? Commissioner, go ahead, Clerk.
Commissioner Flores? Oh, not in denial. Okay. Vice Mayor Woodward?
No, not to deny. It's getting confusing on what we're answering. I think a no. Okay. Oppose the denial. Yes.
What's your call, Clerk? 3 in favor, 3 against?
Yes. Mayor Baxter?
So I wasn't going to comment, I was just going to vote, but seeing how I am the tiebreaker, I will comment. I will say that I have a firm rule that I live by because I have a lot of things that come to me, and I think that each commissioner understands and knows their district best. And so you will hear me repeatedly say, I want us to continue to support the district commissioner in certain stances. Will say, I do have a problem with this particular one because of the things that Commissioner Powell has pointed out, in that it does meet all the compatibility criteria, and I worry about legal ramifications. I struggle on this one because this is also, it's a process, to Commissioner Flores' point, that we have set in place and that we should be held to that process. So this is difficult for me because I want to support the district commissioner, but we also have a process of this is how we do things. So I struggle with this one and understanding, and I'm going to ask one last question to the attorney. I want to know, I mean, this does have to meet the substantial competent evidence?
That's correct. Any decision by the board, either approve it or
Because this is
deny it,
specifically zoning.
because it's a quasi-judicial zoning decision, yes.
And if we do deny this, and I don't mean deny the denial, I mean by doing that, approving it, or if we're denying it altogether, right?
Okay, yes,
Does that open us up for a lawsuit?
yes.
Because there is a process in place that we should be held to.
Yes, so if you deny it, the landowner can bring what's called a petition for certiorari